In today's lesson, tinoda kuita chemistry, and the first topic we have to look at a topic is separation. So the first thing we have to learn panapa are the different methods of separation. So we do have different methods of separation. What are these different methods of separation? Kana chitaura pamusoro pe-separation, as it sounds literally, tiri kuseparata two or more things from each other. Saka we have a mixture, and I'm going to give an example. Let us say we have a mixture of water and sand. Taisa mavhu mumvura, that's the mixture we have. Saka when we separate that mixture, tichange taane mvura paside, then mavhu endawo paside. That is separation. Saka we are having a mixture of two or more things and we want to separate them. What are these methods which we use when we want to separate things? Saka tine method inonzi filtration, tine method inonzi magnetism, tine method inonzi winnowing, kupepeta mshona. Then we have a method called decanting. Tina again a method of evaporation. But you should also appreciate what this is, etc. We have many more methods we are going to look at. But for now we are concerned and concentrated on filtration, magnetism, winnowing, decanting and evaporation. Now tataura pamusoro pe-if. There's a question we want to answer. Saka tadiscussa generally kuti separation, we are separating a mixture into the components which make up that mixture. The question we want to answer is, what determines which method to use? Chii chinotiudza kuti toshandisa method ipi? For now takatarisa those 5 methods. Tinosarudza sei which method to use? That is the question we want to answer. So let us ask the question. Mubvunzo wedu, what determines the method to use? Saka chii chinotiudza kuti toshandisa which method? That's the question. So the choice of the method of separation depends on the nature of the substances to be separated. So let us write down this as a note. So the nature. Let me underline the nature and I want to elaborate on this, the word nature. Kana tichida kuziva kuti toshandisa which method of separation, tinofanirwa kuva a working knowledge kana kuti understanding of the nature of the components which make up the mixture. Saka zviri kuitika panapa ndezvekuti we have a mixture. Let us say tine mixture mukapu muno. Tine mvura. Then mumvura imomo ndo munechi matombo, for example, like this. That is the mixture we have. And to understand the nature. And what do we mean by nature? Kana tichitaura pamusoro pe-nature tikutaura zvinhu zvakawanda. Tinogona kunge tichitaura pamusoro pe-state. And state tinenge tichitaura pamusoro pechi. Is it a solid? Is it a liquid? Or is it a gas? inogona kunge iri nature iyoyi. Like for example, tikatarisa our mixture of water and stones kana kuti sand, tikuona kuti water is a liquid and the sand, these are solids. Takutoziva kuti how can we separate a liquid and a solid. But hazviperi ipapo, tinotarisa zvakare yavanoti solubility. If you remember, kana chinhu chinzi chiri soluble, zvoreva kuti chinokwanisa kunyunguduka mumvura. And that's what a soluble substance is. Saka we look at solubility. Maseparatero atinoita water and sand anosiyana nemaseparatero atinoita water and salt kana kuti water and sugar, because salt is soluble in water but sand is not soluble in water. Saka solubility is also the nature which we consider, and we can also consider the boiling point like this, and I can also imagine situations we consider the freezing point, and but awokutanga ndo deshi do remain. Saka tichazodiscussa more about nature, uye muchaona nature ichaplaya when we are discussing the different methods of separation. But for now, zivai kuti the choice of the method of separation depends on the nature of the substances to be separated, kana kuti the nature of the substances in the mixture. Saka mixture yakakosha bana, mixture yakatikoshera. But we also have a second note. There should be a difference in a physical property, for example boiling point, between the substances being separated. This is also very important. Kuti there saka zvandikunyora in white is ndo manotes enyu, then zvandinonyora in, is it blue or green color iri pamusoro apa heading, zvandinonyora in any other color, for example yellow panapa my illustrations. Okay, so let us look at this point. There should be a difference in physical property, ndobva example a boiling point, between substances in a mixture, because we want to separate the substances in a mixture. So for example, let us say kuti we have two liquids which have been mixed, but they have different boiling points. Saka tine, let us take an hypothetical, tine a substance boiler at 50 degrees Celsius, to it another substance boiler at 80 degrees Celsius. Kuroti kana tikaheata this mixture of liquids, tikasvika pa 50 degrees Celsius, substance iya boiler at 50 degrees Celsius ichatanga kuboila, then toshandisa the method of maybe distillation. Yes, distillation is more ideal. Toshandisa the method of distillation kuti ti collect a liquid iya boiler at 50 degrees Celsius, tosara ne liquid boiler at 80 degrees Celsius. Saka we are going to discuss this in more depth, but this is just an introduction of things. Let us now double down on filtration. Takuda uchitarisa filtration, that is the first method of separation yatichange tichitarisa. Saka filtration haizi nyowani kwamuri, because munoziva kufilter. Kana makambokama mombe and muchida mukaka wadzo, mukaka wemombe, munoziva kuti mukaka wemombe unofanirwa kuzogadzirwa. Unoregwa mukaka wemombe wokora, asi paunokorwa kudaro uchazofiltwa kuti tibvise mutuvi, then vamwe vanomwa mutuvi, vamwe vanoshandisa zvakasiyana siyana, vamwe vanorasa. Saka filtration inowanikwa in different and many scenarios in our everyday life. Zvatirongoita panapa tiri kuformalize filtration. So the first note we need to know panapa when we talk about filtration is this one. So when we talk about filtration, and it is used to separate an undissolved kana kuti insoluble solid. So this is very important. The solid should be undissolved kana kuti insoluble from a liquid. And example yatapa, it's water and sand. Saka water and sand, this is our mixture. The mixture yatinayo water and sand. As an example, tinoziva kuti sand, it's undissolved kana kuti it's insoluble, kureva kuti it cannot be dissolved in water. Sand hainyungoduki mumvura. So that is the time we can use filtration as a method of separation. But we should also put on some emphasis panapa. Saka the emphasis is, we are emphasizing kuti solid yedu ngaive insoluble kana kuti undissolved, isinganyungoduke, isingadissolve in water. What this means is, filtration is not ideal for separating soluble solids and water. And pa water panapa, to be more general, tachonga kuti and liquids. For example, water and salt. Saka natine water and salt, water and sugar, water and other liquids, like, we cannot use the method of filtration kuti separate a soluble solid from water, because the moment water and a soluble solid are in a mixture, the soluble solid begins to dissolve there and there. But kana tiine a liquid and an undissolved or insoluble solid, then we can separate the two. Let us now look at the apparatus. Tauda kupinda mlebu manje kuti ti understand ma apparatus anoshandiswa pakuita this experiment kana kuti pakushandisa filtration. Saka ma apparatus aya anoti, we need a filter paper, but this filter paper, it should be in what is called a filter funnel. And the filter funnel should then be above a container, but in a lab situation, it's usually a beaker. Like this. Saka we have a filter paper, inogadzikwa pamusoro pe filter funnel, then tine beaker. Skana uri mukaka wakakora, tichida kubvisa mtuvi, tinongo shandisa container, totsvaga mucheka wakachena, toisa pamusoro pe container, then twatadira mukaka. Anditi mtuvi uchitokolektika paweka tichitosara nemukaka. That is one way of doing it. So let us show you an image inoratidza these apparatus, so that we can have a visual understanding of what is happening. So that's the image, and as you can see panapa, munotoona omega kuti this is the mixture. And again, panapa the mixture is what? Solid and liquid. But remember, what is solid yedu, we should have a property of what? Being insoluble. Kana kuti more generally undissolved. Anditiga? Yes. Then tovataidira manje. Saka ino indo filter funnel yacho. Pamusoro pe filter funnel ndo patinoisa a filter paper. As you can see. Saka chakaita orange ichi ndo filter paper. Then che blue icho, it's a filter funnel. but ino iyi ndo inenge iri chibika, ndo matiri kukolektera. Saka the solid inosara mufilter paper munomu, liquid ndo inota pass through the filter paper ichipinda mubika. Saka tenge tava nechi, for example, let us say kuti the solid is sand. Saka tenge tiine sand in our filter paper, then liquid to a collector in the beaker. So let us put down this. So the point we first we want to write panapa is this one. Saka point irungo describe zvatanga takatarisa on that image, kuti the mixture of insoluble solid and liquid is poured into the filter funnel, but emphasis is on the insolubility of the solid. So when you are answering questions in an exam setup, you should be sure to emphasize kuti solid yacho inenge iri insoluble. That's a very important characteristic and property of the solid in question. Then our next point, now the next point is the filter paper then allows the small liquid particles to pass through in the filtrate, like what we can see here, kuti the small liquid particles ndo ari kuita pass through in the filtrate, mapaona, and then the larger particles of the solid, in our case sand, ndo anosara ari pa filter paper. So the large solid particles and do not pass through the filter paper, so they remain or stay behind as residue, mapaona. Saka let us go back to this diagram and we want to discuss something that is important. What we want to discuss here, which is of vital importance, zvinosara zviri mufilter paper, which is the solid, inosara iri mufilter paper, inonzi residue kana residue depending on your pronunciation, but liquid inocollectewa in the beaker inonzi filtrate. Saka to illustrate it a little better panapa, tiri kungoti tinosara tine situation yakadai so this is my filter funnel, then let me put my filter paper and it, then with a beaker panapa. Saka at the end of this process tichasara tiinechi to send particles munomu, then umutenge tiinechi water and it. Saka zvatingotaura panapa ndezvekuti send particles tinosarawo ndochi residue and mvura inocollectewa in the beaker ndo inonzi filtrate. So this is very important to know. Otherwise, this concludes our lesson on filtration. We are going to be looking on other methods of separation in our next lesson. If you have any questions of whatever kind, please refer to the comments section or to our numbers. If you also want extra lessons, you can communicate with us on the numbers we are going to provide at the end of this video and also in our description. Thank you and stay blessed.